Hello, I am attorney Masa Sam Foray, and I am founder of the Foray firm with offices in Chicago and in Houston. And I'm back again today to talk to you about all things immigration. All right, so today's question is, what should I expect in my interview? What questions should I expect in my interview for my tourist visa? So you're planning on coming to the United States, you want to come see Disneyland or Disney World or the Empire State Building, and so you've submitted for an application for a B2 tourist visa. Now these are some questions that you should be prepared for and that you should expect in your interview. Number one, how long will you be in the US? That is probably going to be one consistent question that every tourist or potential tourist should expect to get. Because remember, the B2 tourism visa is for purposes of vacation. And so every question they ask you is going to be able to indicate to them whether or not you understand that you have not submitted an immigrant visa, and whether or not you understand that this is not an immigrant visa, but this is a non-immigrant visa, and one that is temporary in nature, simply for the purposes of vacation or for a holiday or for tourism. So they're going to ask you how long you plan to be in the US. Make sure you have a very clear answer. If you have a very specific date, if you've already bought your return flight, which you should have, be prepared to do, not before you get the visa, but very soon thereafter. If you have a very specific holiday schedule from school or from work, then make sure that you're readily able to give that information. Number two, they might ask you why you're choosing to travel now. Why this specific, period in time? You've had, however many years, to go to the United States. Why do you want to go this July? Why do you want to go this August? And if you have a specific reason aside from this is just, the time when you had enough money to go, give the reason. Perhaps it's for a family graduation or an important, other life event like a specific birthday, your mother's 80th birthday party or what have you. So if you have a very specific reason for traveling at this specific period in time, then make sure that you relay that to the consular officer, because quite frankly, that is going to lend credibility to them that you are going for a specific purpose on a specific date, and that at the conclusion of that event, you will be returning back home again. They'll ask you whether or not you have any friends or family in the United States. They can ask you who would be traveling with you. It would be unusual if there were, if you were planning on traveling with your nuclear family, say it's mom, dad, and 2 kids, if you were at the embassy or the consulate alone, and if your wife or your husband and the children were not there on the same day to seek a visa on the same day. But in any event, regardless of what the case is, be ready to explain to them who will be traveling with you to the United States. They're going to ask you, more than likely, questions, geared towards establishing how tied you are and how well settled you are in your own country. Because again, they want to make sure that when you go to the United States, if you were granted a tourism visa, that you plan to return again. So the deeper your roots, the more established you are, the higher your chances are for getting a tourism visa. So they'll ask you what your occupation is, what do you do for a living. They might ask you about, your income. If you are a business owner, they might ask you how long you've owned the business, what are the number of employees that you've had, and try to, again, ascertain how established you are and how likely it is that you'll return to that business and how likely it is you'll return to that place of employment. If you have been a long-time employee and you have the ability to get a letter from your employer on letterhead, that would be wonderful. Be there and be ready to present it so you can show that you have a specific period of holidays, 30 days or 14 days, so that the consular officer can be assured that, you have been an employee, a good employee for X number of years, and that this is an annual vacation, and, put their mind at ease that there's no reason why you would choose this particular annual vacation to not return back to your home country. Other questions might be about who's paying for your trip. And again, it's okay if you are not the one paying for your trip. However, that might raise a bit of a red flag, because again, they want to know that you are financially stable, economically stable in your own country, because then that reduces the likelihood that you will come to the United States on a tourism visa and then decide to stay and pursue, better options in the US. All right, they want you to go back home. This is not the visa for you to immigrate with permanently. If somebody else is paying for, your trip or paying for your flight and your accommodations, definitely be candid and be honest about that. But just note that, let's say for instance, you answer that your spouse is going to be paying for it, and that spouse resides in the United States. Or if you answer that your fiance, again, who resides in the United States, is going to be paying for it, it's probably going to raise some red flags, because somebody who has a spouse or a significant other who is paying for their travel to the United States because they don't have any evidence with their bank records or their employment history that they are able to pay for the trip and the accommodations on their own, well, that person is going to raise a bit of red flags, because it's unlikely that you'll want to leave your husband or your wife again to return back home, unless it's something that you've done several times, in which case be ready to show and indicate that. And also your immigration records would show and indicate if you have come and gone in a timely and lawful fashion. In any event, I hope that this has been helpful. And if you have any questions in pursuing a B2 tourism visa, do reach out to a trusted immigration attorney, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video.